Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here, another edition of Off the Top Rope. Dynamite finished. Um, I'm sure a lot of AEW fans, and I know a certain number of them were probably watching the Knicks game. The Knicks game was more entertaining. The Knicks Pacers game was more entertaining than this show. Listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat it here anymore because listen, I've already said it before that freaking this Double or Nothing show is you could say there could be bangers on this show, and maybe there will be, but this is a disaster of the show. This is the least hyped up pay-per-view that I can remember. And this is like it would be one thing if it was Dynasty, but this is Double or Nothing. And I will say this, they did the right thing, and they officially announced that Hangman Adam Page and Will Ospreay is going to main event the show. That is the to me, that is an easy decision. It's the most important match. It has the most stakes on the line. They did a great job of selling it off the top of the show. That was the best segment on the show. But the build and a lot of this show, the build was kind of emblematic of this show was kind of emblematic of the build into this pay-per-view. What the hell is Anthony Bowens facing? The hell is Anthony Bowens facing Ricochet on 1 hour's notice? The hell is that? Ricochet gets a win. Anthony Bowens hadn't lost since he returned as, the pride of professional wrestling. So the six-man trios tag, what did that accomplish? And then you get over Anarchy in the Arena, and then there's this nonsensical build where we were all expecting Gabe Kidd, who got involved in the world title match last week. He's not in the match. He's just there. It's almost like that they are, like I said, this is starting to feel like pre-COVID, like those last couple years before COVID of Vince McMahon WWE. Because these storylines are inconsistent. They're not, the ones that they're telling are not very good. And here we are heading into the flagship show, the show that started this whole thing off 6 years in. And this is the least buzzed and least talked about show that I can remember in all my years of watching AEW. Like you could make a case that even the Owen Hart Cup tournament matches could be put on a Dynamite. Because the only time they were ever on pay-per-view was the first year that they did this tournament in 2022 when Britt Baker and Adam Cole won those tournaments. And that meant nothing. The last two tournaments were entirely contested on free television. Yet this year you had a month to build it, and they did, to their credit, they did a really good job in telling the narrative and telling the story of Hangman and Ospreay and what's on the line. And it's genuinely as close to a coin flip as there has been in this company in a long, long time. I have no idea who's going to win that match. I'll probably have a later video about that because I've already kind of hammered how I feel about that match, and it's not to disrespect Will Ospreay. But the women's match just, feels like we're window dressing to the inevitable of Mercedes Moné winning that match. And it's just like and then the Anarchy in the Arena match is the most thrown together and most inconceivable and just, really incomprehensible type of build to a match that I can remember of this caliber, where you're legitimately it's 6-on-6. You've got women involved in it. You're interjecting about 16 different storylines. Kenny Omega's in it against the Young Bucks, even though we know he's facing Okada and Okada's not in this match. Like there were so many rearranged. Like you've got Swerve is feuding with the Young Bucks. It's just like there's so many things that are just all over the place. It doesn't make any sense. And then what are you throwing? Ricochet in a stretcher match with Mark Briscoe? If you take away the stretcher match, that's a collision match. That's a collision main event, maybe. It's not something that should be on Double or Nothing. Mina Shirakawa is going to lose to Toni Storm, and Mina's facing Julia Hart, who they dusted off because Julia Hart was associated with Sky Blue, who was in the eliminate. Just a bunch of eliminators. Like it's just none of it makes an ounce of sense. And I'm sitting there watching this show, and I'm just like, outside of Hangman and even the probably the best story that they've got is MJF and the Hurt Syndicate. Even that is starting to feel underwhelming because we were expecting some big twist in MJF joining the Hurt Syndicate and signing the contract. And all we got was Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, who are facing the Hurt Syndicate at the pay-per-view, which again, another non-pay-per-view level match that's happening. By the way, the Hurt Syndicate are so over. And yet, listen, I like Dustin Rhodes. Dustin Rhodes is 50. Sammy Guevara, it hasn't been relevant in this company for 2 years. They're on pay-per-view. That's your tag team championship match? Are you kidding me? That's what's coming off of this Hurt. That's what's coming off of this MJF Hurt Syndicate stuff. That's your big tell? Like, it's just, there's so much going on in this company that is either like just nonsensical. It's like like I said, the one story is based off of a tournament, and it's Hangman and Ospreay, and that's the best match and that's the one that I'm really looking forward to. It might be match of the year. Everything else on the show just feels underwhelming and really just kind of just meh. And for a show like Double or Nothing that has been one of the flagship shows, it's the longest running show in the history of this company because it was the first show that they ever did. And this is the card that you put out, and this is how you get people hyped up for it. I don't know what you guys want me to say, man. There will probably be good matches on this show. That's not the point. The point is you are trying to sell pay-per-view buys and trying to get people to spend $50 on your product. They have not done a good job in any of those facets. At least the main event we know will be better than any of the last 3 or 4 pay-per-view shows. Like, let's listen. The last really good pay-per-view main event was what the hell was the last truly good pay-per-view main event was probably All Out, right? When that was Hangman and Swerve in the cage, because then you had Moxley Danielson. That was Danielson's retirement match. You had Orange Cassidy and Moxley. You had the 4-way at World's End. Then you had that disaster of a match at Revolution, which was a Mox Coat match that turned into a triple threat. Then you had Mox Swerve, and now here we are at Double or Nothing, and we're main eventing with the right match. At least I can say that's something that they did right. The rest of this show sucks. Because even if Mercedes and Jamie is good, the only way that match can be salvaged is if Jamie Hayter wins. It'll be a good match, but if Mercedes Moné wins, it's the completely wrong decision. So, listen, I like I said, I don't know what you guys want me to say. I've been trying to potentially get myself hyped up at least to watch this because I know what the meaning of this show is. And, Anarchy in the Arena, I can dismiss a little bit of reality because, hey, there's probably just going to be a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of cool spots. It'll be like watching an action flick. Okay, cool. What else outside of the 2 Owen Hart Cup tournament matches even matters on this show? Nothing. And they've given you little reason to care about anything on the show. Dynamite has done a terrible job of doing that. So I'm bound to be proven wrong. And again, AEW has done a great job with putting pay-per-views. But in terms of hype and, excitement around shows going into them, this is as underwhelming of a build as I can remember. And like I said, it's made doubly unacceptable by the fact that it is a show the stature of Double or Nothing. That just can't happen. So anyway, I'll have some more Dynamite reactions here on the channel, sprinkling throughout. Well, obviously NBA playoffs has been insane. We'll have a lot of coverage on that. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.